What's up, guys? Let me fix my volume. What's up? So we're going to have Kenneth and Paul on tonight. Danny had some family stuff come up, so he won't be on with us. But we're going to be talking about Embassy tonight. So it should be a pretty good, informative live. Paul. All right, I accepted you guys. Let's see. Hey, guys.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on? How are you guys doing?
Good. You good? How about you?
All right, yeah, pretty good, man. I was telling everybody before you guys jumped on, we're going to talk about Embassy tonight and just kind of touch on some of the timelines and prints and variants. But I want to kick it off. Paul, I want you, if you don't mind, give us a brief history of, the company, sort of the timeline when Embassy went, defunct and switched into, Nelson and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So, like, Embassy Pictures started in the 40s to distribute foreign films in the United States. In 1967, it was bought by Avco, which was some aviation company. By this point, they were already investing in all these other new projects and things. And so they become especially interested in the home video idea or concept in the late 60s and 70s when audio cassettes were picking up steam. And so they actually are a big investor in Cartravision. That's Frank Stanton's home video cassette format. They launched in 1972. It was an abysmal failure, but it's the first home video format to offer pre-recorded movies on video cassette. I have a couple of them, but here's a sealed like Casablanca and
Oh,
the
nice.
thing. But it is the very first home video format to offer pre-recorded video cassettes. This is 1972. You couldn't purchase this. This was only available for rent. This red box is actually a box. The cassettes are red as well, but what you see is like a window box. But anyway, so as you can imagine, AFCO lost millions of dollars on that investment because they end Cartravision in just over a year, I think. And at that point, they kind of slowed down with their little home video experiment. They, from a distance, watch Andre Blay and Magnetic Video grow. And right before Andre Blay sells Magnetic Video to Fox in 1979, he actually makes a deal to distribute some of Embassy's titles through Magnetic Video. But it's in 1979 that Fox purchases Magnetic Video, and they keep Andre Blay on as president. And they promised Andre Blay, listen, we want you to stay with the company. You could remain president of the company, and we'll leave it here in Michigan. Andre Blay is like, great, it's my hometown. We want to keep operations here. But they kind of pull the rug out from under him and say, we changed our mind. We want to move the company out to California. And Andre Blay was kind of pissed about this and said, well, no, you promised me you would keep the company here in Michigan. And so he was in some kind of binding contract with Fox, and in order to resign from the company, he had to get lawyers involved. It was this big fiasco that he created over at Fox. But anyway, he leaves Fox, and I think it's really a big ego trip for him. But he ends up leaving Fox and starts his own video company called Belay Video, and this is, I guess, maybe 1980 about. Belay Video releases about 15 titles. I think the one we see most often is Magic, the horror movie with the ventriloquist dummy. Another one is Night Porter. Another one is Assault, I believe it's called. So these are like genre niche movies, not like big blockbuster hits. But I think at this point, Andre Blay is kind of feeling a lot of regret. Maybe his family came down on him and said, listen, why would you cut ties off with the biggest movie studio? It doesn't make sense. So Blay takes the first deal that comes his way. And who is that? That's Embassy. So Embassy, having had this relationship with Blay in the past, said, listen, we're ready to start our own home video company. And we want to purchase Belay Video and change the name to Embassy Home Entertainment, and we want to keep you as the president or the CEO of the company. And he said, yeah, sure, let's do it, probably because of the regret that he had leaving Fox. But the irony of the whole thing is that Embassy is situated in California. So after having made this huge fuss with Fox, getting lawyers involved and everything, he ends up moving to California anyway. And this is like 1981 or something like that. So it's a very small window from when he cut ties with Fox. But anyway, so yeah, so that's when we get the name Embassy Home Entertainment. They start off releasing the same exact style boxes as Blade Video. All they do is change the logo. It's these clamshell boxes, and they eventually create that star logo that we see later. In 1982, Norman Lear, the big TV producer, purchases Embassy. Embassy was already the production company for like his TV shows like The Facts of Life and The Jeffersons and things like that. So 1982, he buys it. They continue to release movies on home video. In 1986, Coca-Cola buys it. In the late 80s, I think Nelson buys it. And as a horror collector, when I think of Nelson Home Entertainment, I immediately think Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. Those like, you know, some of my favorite slashers. And from there, in the early 90s, a lot of these independent distributors just kind of declare bankruptcy and just fall apart, and a lot of their libraries are acquired and absorbed by the bigger studios. So yeah, that's a basic gist of MC Home Entertainment. The early ones are kind of unique because they do have the price printed on the box in the front. I think when I think of Embassy, I always think of a couple of horror movies. Sleepaway Camp, of course, which has the original print has $59.95, I think, on the front of the box. Another one is called Humongous, which is like a 80s like monster. They had that in the clamshell and the slipcover. So yeah, that's Embassy.
Fascinating, man. And we were talking about how on the clamshells they kept the the logo. That's what you're talking about. That like
Yeah.
early
So
text logo.
some of the early magazine ads for Blade Video it shows all the Blade video tapes. There's about 15 of them. That same year, like launches Blade Video. In the later half of the year, they reprint that same exact ad, but with the Embassy logos. And if you look close, you can still see like the Blade Video logo on the videotapes in the ad. Yes, you'll see that on the bottom banner of the ad, but if you look, it's still the Blade logo on the tape. So it kind of shows you how quickly they transitioned from Blade Video over to Embassy. It's quite fascinating. It's just, I find it fascinating because, you know, Blade was just so eager to take the first deal that came his way, and it just makes you wonder why he did that.
Yeah.
And if you read his memoir, pre-recorded history, this guy had such a big head, such an ego trip. He thought he created the home video industry, and certainly an important pioneer. But he was not the first, and I think that when Fox, you know, he split ties with Fox, he realized that he was not maybe the big shot that he thought he was. But I always find that drama around Blade very interesting, and also this is like but as I mentioned, with Avco started with pre-recorded video cassettes with cartridge vision. This was 1972, but if you read Blade's memoir, he always claims to be the first to put pre-recorded movies on videotape. As president of Embassy Home Entertainment, which was owned by Avco early on, you would think that he would know about cartridge vision at this point. He must have known that he was not the first to put pre-recorded Hollywood movies on videotape, but that's another topic, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's super, like I said, fascinating. And you know, if you guys want to jump in, and thank you for that, Paul, because that was really good information and history on that. But like even like these clamshells, like we were just showing the first logo there that you were talking about. These are super niche and hard to find, and I don't think they probably ran these more than maybe like a year. This is my favorite one out of the clams that they did. I love this movie. The cover's great. It's one of my favorites. And even like on the tapes, you get a completely different, label than the later Embassy stuff.
Yeah.
And all of them that I've seen, I mean, and it could vary, but they all have like these, very specific like factory stickers. Some will have dates. This one just has like a serial number on it. Yeah, it's VCA. It's just this is like their logo, whatever that logo is. But then when you start, you come off the clamshells into the, you guys call it the gradient slips? That's the proper term? Like the colored slip, like these?
Yeah.
So you come off the clamshells into these gradient slips, and like on this Blade Runner here, you get where they actually like the VCA logo changed, and this actually has the date. So the date on this one's 2/7/1983. So this is like right off the factory line for like Blade Runner, but they added in, VCA, and it still has that, logo there. Um, and then obviously the labels change. They're pretty basic, but I really like these early Embassy labels and like the ones on the clamshell too. And what's cool is kind of what you were talking about, Paul. They added in that star logo too. They didn't put it on the front of the label at first, but they started adding on the sides, and then you would have it, on the sides of these boxes. Um, but I just love these. They're pretty basic, but they're just super unique and cool. And I know you guys. This was actually the first tape that you guys graded, right? A sealed gradient Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Um, and what was cool about that one, and Kenneth, I want to let you talk about that one in a minute, but there's pre-watermark wrap, which is what this one is, and then you'll also see these with like the Embassy Star logo watermarks. And this is like the exact same wrap as the sealed one. It's just, and it's total Embassy wrap too, because of like the texture, everything. It's just they didn't have that integrated yet, I guess, with like the watermarks. And I wish I had the other Blade Runner gradient tape, because there's a Maxell and there's also a Scotch, and the Scotch one would come with the watermarks, and that one was probably maybe a couple of months after this one. But Kenneth, talk a little bit about when you guys got that tape in, how you felt about it when you saw it. Obviously it's super super fucking rare. It's probably the only one I remember seeing like sealed. I can't think of another sealed one like pre-watermark
We've
I've seen.
actually seen two of those,
Oh, have you? Okay.
but I don't know that there's much more out there, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that was our first one. And yeah, I just want to say thanks again to Paul. Like this is what I love about Paul is his knowledge of like the history of home video is just like
Definitely.
so. He knows all the inner stories.
Yeah,
To me,
it's
it's like
awesome.
I'm thinking of the case types, and I'm thinking of Embassy and Nelson, and stickers and. But yeah, like he provides like I didn't even realize all the ties to Cartravision and all these other
It's fascinating.
Play. Definitely like he said, one of the biggest like home video pioneers. Um, but yeah, I would say Embassy is one of those great independent studios that has really iconic cover art. That black clamshell on that Escape from New York makes it look like like a lot more dark and formidable. That's like just
Yeah,
it goes so well with that art.
it really
And the
does.
black and white gradient boxes, all of those are. I mean, I don't know. Like I've always wanted to put together a set of those, just because that style has like a kind of grabs your attention. Even movies that look so
Hmm.
with that artwork really look cool. Like you mentioned the Swamp Thing, and
Yeah.
um, obviously the Blade Runner is a big one that people like. But even their later stuff. I remember one of the earlier movies I found like out in the wild at a thrift store was like a sealed The Graduate on Embassy.
It's a good
A
one.
little bit tougher to find, and I always like the Slumber Party Massacre movies. I thought those are great. I've got
Yeah, those are.
great
And,
covers.
uh, oh yeah, definitely. And like even Paul was saying, like with the Nelson, the Sleepaway Camp 2, and it's like her on the cover, and in the backpack they have like the cheap
Freddy's.
looking plastic Freddy's glove and the knockoff Jason mask.
Yeah,
That cover I remember seeing as a kid all the time in the rental shop. So I love that cover and the movie too.
yeah. The 2 and 3 covers are interesting because they're just kind of generic, and it's just I don't even know who the the actress
Yeah.
did the covers, but it's not even like Pamela Springsteen from the movies.
Yeah,
So,
it's true.
yeah,
Poster.
Um,
but
Great.
yeah,
I love
yeah, exactly. It's a great cover though. Still, I love those. Absolutely love those movies. But yeah, like I mean, I know I'm forgetting other ones, but there's definitely some really good.
Howling. Howling
Oh,
was a that they did.
which one?
Howling.
Yeah,
yeah,
Howling. There you go.
Howling was another one.
Well,
That
and
one's interesting.
First and then Embassy released the Howling, maybe.
Yeah,
But yeah, that has to be like one of Embassy's biggest horror titles was the Howling.
yeah, because
Behind
what is it? Oh,
I was
Rad.
yeah, the Rad, man, like a really iconic one.
Yeah, that's actually the the rental store poster. So the date on it is available on video cassette and laserdisc September 24th, 1986. This was pretty hard to track down. Um, but yeah, like, and I wish I had a copy of The Howling. I don't have it because it's so hard to find. And they did the drawer box for that one too, Paul. I think you mentioned that. But what's cool is because some of the gradient like slips, like The Howling, for example, it's super unique because The Howling. I mean, in whoever is watching this, you can like look them up on eBay. They're on there sometimes, but it's like a full cover, and it'll have like the star logo here, but then it still has like the gradient style like on the side and the back, but it's an actual full cover. But the majority of them are like this Blade Runner where it's like the artwork in the small square, star logos on the side. But I love The Howling. It's one of my favorites. It's just super, super, super hard to find, especially in good condition. Um, but
Phantasm,
yeah, like what's that?
Phantasm. I mean, it's basically the same as the Magnetic cover, but I always thought that was a good one.
Yeah, Phantasm's classic. And a lot of people don't know there's actually a Phantasm drawer box. I've only ever seen just like maybe two or three of them, and that was like a super rare release too, because you had the magnetic, and then there's a drawer box. 'Cause I remember seeing them. Somebody posted them. I think it was like in Horror VHS Collectors Unite like years ago, and I've only seen, like I said, two or three of them, and they were all beat condition. But it's super wild to see because it's a 20th century drawer box or drawer box, but it's Phantasm. I'll find the picture. I have a picture on my phone. I'll send it to you guys. But
What logo?
have you ever seen that one, Paul?
I
What's that?
uh,
You seen that one? What is it, Kenneth?
I was just asking, what logo does that have?
It's a
What
20th
Embassy logo?
century. Well, it's not. It's a 20th century Fox drawer box.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what's really, really unique and rare about it. I have a picture in my phone of it though. The one that the guy posted, like I said, it was in one of the horror groups years ago, and it's really beat condition. And it was said, I forget who I talked to. I think it was Kevin DeFalco. You know, the guy that has all the 300
300 meters.
and it was like a super, yeah, it was a super limited thing that they did. They didn't make a lot of them at all, and only two or three exist. But I'll send you a picture, and I'll also put a picture on my Instagram too, so people can see it. But it's like I said, it's wild to look at because you wouldn't expect to see Phantasm in the 20th Century Fox drawer box.
Yeah.
It's really really fucking cool. Um, but yeah, Phantasm's a classic one, and then talking about like sort of the timeline prints here, I've got a couple of tapes after the gradient one or the gradient slips. They brought these in, and I like these two. They're always pretty basic, but they either had the 79.95 price or a 59.95 price, and then they moved into where they didn't have the price on them at all. That was probably like in late '86, um, because this one has VCA date sticker on it too here. So this one is 4/12/1985 is when this one was. So probably because the gradient slips were 83, they probably, what do you guys think, ran those for till into 84, going into 85 probably, and then brought these out. These are these are actually probably my least favorite Embassy slips. I don't know, like they're cool for what they are, but they're just sort of like bland, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting
Yeah.
because they did like the lower credits on the front,
Mhm.
kind of similar to like
Right.
guess Fox did.
Yeah.
I like artwork in comparison to like the gradient, honestly, but the
Yeah.
price tag printed on the box is so tacky.
I agree. It's not one of my favorites either. I never liked that
One of
because
the
um
few of that era that actually printed the price on the box.
yeah,
Yeah,
because there was the 79 and then the 59, and those were probably both happening at the same time. Um, but you can start seeing, like, I'll hold them together here, but like the print shifts and stuff where um, like the logo was bigger on this one, then they sized it down. They added like the more of the closed captioning, um, and like the hi-fi Zero. And another thing they added here too, and this is pretty micro, but they started adding in like the genre, like where they put like drama and action or fantasy or whatever. And I love stuff like that. And I know, you guys too, just like looking at like the timelines and boxes and stuff. Um, and then they brought in these, which is the ones everybody, widely recognized, is when they had like the full art, colored slips. These are the ones everybody knows and you see the most of. This is one of my favorite movies, actually, The Sure Thing. I really like this one. I like Rob Reiner. And this one, Paul, I'll let you, because we were talking about it before the live, but the macro vision thing. So talk about real quick. The Cotton Club was the first to have macro vision, right? That's what you were saying? One of
Macrovision
the first?
copy protection software. There were actually like foreign companies, believe it or not, in like late 70s, early 80s, created their own like copy protection. Back in those days, 50% of the home video market was all adult movies, pornography, because the Hollywood studios were just stubborn and didn't want to get involved with video cassette, at least not yet. But anyway, they eventually agree on Macrovision, and Macrovision and that Cotton Club that you showed is like the first movie. It is the first movie announced by all the trade magazines as the first to have that Macrovision. And your copy's cool. It has that sticker on there. So they were
Yeah.
quite proud to system. But it's not the first. But it is the one that Hollywood would eventually decide on, Macrovision.
Yeah, and I've seen these stickers here and there. Even when I bought this copy of Sure Thing, I actually bought it more because like this is one of the Street Date tapes, the two-tone Maxell, and it was just a plus that it came with that sticker on it. But then the other thing too is like I wish I had more embassy tapes here. I've got more. They're just put away, but you'll start seeing like this is the reissue Sure Thing. I have it here. I don't have the slip, but this is when it would have gone like marked down. So this is it here. But if you look at like the labels, you see how this label's like this one's lighter,
Right.
and that's when they started doing like the markdowns or issues, and the labels started changing. They were just lighter.
That
So
you see how the later one, Matt, has like that. I mean, you can kind of see it more now as they've aged, but
mhm.
there's like a UV light E symbol like printed over the entire label. So if you look real close in the background, like of the white, there's just a
Yeah,
bunch of CEs on there. But if you took a UV light to it, they glow. You can see them really clearly.
I've got a UV light. Let's grab it and put it on there real quick. Let's see if it
A few
works. I know
companies,
what you're talking.
RCA
Yeah.
did, and a handful of others. Trying to remember. Paul might remember. Recently, we had a box.
RCA had that
Yeah,
pattern.
Yeah, see right there. They light up.
yeah, exactly. We had a box
Um,
recently that had the whole whole print of the front and back of the box, but it had like their
Oh,
watermarks on.
whoa, VCX.
Yeah, that's what it was. That was
oh,
an old box.
oh, is that what it was? And Paramount too has them
$9.
on the labels.
Yeah, but yeah,
That's
it's kind
super cool.
of, some of them, if they get a lot of heat exposure and they're in like a hot environment, it'll almost
Hmm.
bake through, and you can see it like almost like a yellow, looks like yellow stamps all over the label, but
Yeah, that's true.
basically clear.
The box. It's not just like the label. I don't think I've seen it before on like the outer box. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is because I mean and it's fascinating. Like when you start breaking down these tapes, because I just like looking at the tapes too. But this is like the reissue Sure Thing, and like same thing.
Yeah.
So both of them have it, right? Yeah,
Yeah, this one's a
both.
little bit lighter. You see how they don't show up as much? I
Yeah,
mean, you could see them, but they're not as apparent like on this darker label. They just really pop on that one. See?
yeah.
They just pop more. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's just another added piracy thing they were probably doing. Somebody couldn't like boot like a tape and, put like a reproduction label or whatever, because the other thing, and the one thing Danny talks about a lot, and if he was on here, I'd get him to tell the story, but like when he was working at their rental shops, he said they would have people like swapping the reels all the time. and putting them in blank tapes. They would just try to steal the movie and then put like the empty blanks in the one they would try to return. So that's why there was all these security measures, and that's probably why. And this is something I don't think we ever talked about before, but like the actual khaki two-tone guard was probably just another measure of security put on there that it had to be. I mean, what do you guys think with that?
Yeah, I don't think
'Cause-
I've ever seen it on like you could buy to record. Um,
Mm-mm.
I don't know that I ever have. I mean, it's harder to
Security.
find for stock, but
That's why ET has
Yeah,
a guard. That's why ET
yeah,
took forever out, because it was really truly a security measure, not just like a cool design, which it is as well, but definitely a
definitely.
security measure. You can't find any blank tapes with just a colored guard.
yeah,
You can find colored blank tapes, but not like ones with just a khaki guard. That would defeat the purpose. There's a reason for that.
yeah.
Yeah, and because what's interesting too is because like I mean this is a Maxell tape, but then there's also the Blackguard Maxell. Um, but this was like a lot of these khaki or two-tone guards would be the main tapes happening on a lot of these releases. I mean, there was obviously a mix on some of the stuff with first prints, but like Blade Runner, for example, this is like the earliest first tape for Blade Runner, and they just went with the Maxell two-tone. This is one of my favorite tapes. But yeah, like when you start really looking at all the security measures and stuff, and then I got a labyrinth here. I wanted to show something. I know you guys have seen this before, but this is an 87 release. So sometime like going into 87, they added like the UPC
Oh
like on
yeah,
both sides. They didn't have them before, but then like you see again where it's the genre fantasy adventure. This is one of my favorite movies too.
That's like
And then
it's just about buys embassies when you start seeing that, because all the Nelson boxes are that design with
mhm.
the UPC gold
And
spines. There's a brief period of time where Nelson continues to use that embassy logo for maybe just half a year or so before they reprint the boxes with the logo.
right. Yeah, and it was like an easy transition probably going into like, from Embassy to the Nelson. I mean, and there's some, like we were saying, some Nelson releases I like the sleepaway camps and stuff like that. But for something like Labyrinth or Rad, I'm definitely going to want the, Embassy release. And this is another tape that they were using a lot at that time. This is a Konica, but you see this tape like happening all the time on like the 86 and 87 prints, and it's another one of my favorite tapes. And we can do this for Kenneth because I know he likes the UV light thing. But same
yeah.
thing, you
Same.
can see them when you light them up. But yeah, I mean, Embassy was like all one of those companies that I always remember seeing at the rental store too. Like the Embassy prints were just always like there. They were always around. They were unique. Like Paul was saying at the beginning of live, it was they produced like a lot of like niche obscure movies too. I mean, they had some popular titles in there, like Labyrinth was popular. Blade Runner at the time, I think they considered that like a flop when it
Should
came out.
regards to Blade Runner, we should mention that the
Yeah,
version on the cassette is the extended version of the movie, and
that's
this
right.
was like one of the first times ever released a different cut of the movie on home video from theatrical. So the theatrical movie bombed at the box office. Blade Runner just did terrible. It's a cult movie now, but yeah, it mentions it somewhere on
Yeah,
the back that it's an extended cut of the movie, and I think that's
just
a
a minute here.
fascinating.
Warning: this cassette, contains. Yeah, and it's super fascinating. And the other thing, um, and somebody sent me this the other day. It was like a article, and I think I told you about this, talking about the release of Blade Runner, and it said that it came out at a really low price point of 29.95, which I thought was like really fascinating. But it could have just been that it didn't do that well, but it also could have been that at that specific spot where they were selling it, it could have been they marked it to 29, but it's also possible it could have been 59 or 49. Um,
It
but yeah,
was
you
part of.
wouldn't think,
I wouldn't think that it would have launched at that price, but it was
right?
part of like the Bible kit promotion and all these weird promotions that Embassy had. So
Yeah, I would think it would probably have launched at the 59, if anything, like the 59, because they didn't really start. Like, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've seen, they really didn't start the 79.95 thing until like 84-ish. That's when you start seeing that price start happening a lot, like 84, definitely going into 85, 86. That's why, like on where's that Cotton Club I just had? There's two different prices happening. There's a 79 and there's also a 59 that I've seen on these. So it's possible the $59 ones, like that are printed on here, could have been a little bit before the $79 started happening. So stuff like that to me is really cool. And I'm with you, Paul. Like I think it's kind of cheesy that they put the price like on the box, but um, it's they're cool for what they are.
Paul
I don't
mentioned,
really have. What's up, Kenneth?
I was gonna say, Paul mentioned the survival kit promotion.
Mhm.
NBC had like some of the weirdest, like, in my opinion, um, they're like the tiniest type stickers. Uh,
God.
Mhm.
yeah, that's just like a little dot, and it's just plain text, like it's just block text. But like you may have seen like the Real Deals one
Real Deal.
on something like
Yeah.
That's
um,
Blade Runner was part of Real Deals, but there's also Cheap Chills
yeah,
is one of.
there's a survival.
Yeah, that's another one.
Um, yeah, they're just these tiny little colored stickers that just say like that on them, and they look like a generic video store like genre sticker or something. Like they just
Yeah,
look very basic and they're tiny. So
and they'll always be. You always see them like in the corners,
Yes.
and like you said, they're super, super freaking tiny. And I think those are cool too. But yeah, I don't, I don't really have any more embassy tapes here. Like I said, a lot of them are in a box. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add on, embassy before like we hop off or anything? Or
what's the coolest embassy related item that you own, Matt?
probably this Brad poster, this one. Um,
What about something you can ride?
oh, I got the bike. It's in the garage. So I actually have the bike. It's not the screen used BMX, but I have the Mongoose that it's the Mongoose Californian BMX that Crew Jones, rode in the movie. I bought that like 2 years ago, and my wife was so pissed like when I brought that in. So now it used to be like in my office, but now it's in the garage. I should have brought that out, but aside from the bike, probably this poster,
And it's like
because
all vintage build, like
oh
screen
yeah,
there with all
yeah,
the
it's all error correct parts. The guy I got it at a pretty good deal, because normally they can sell for like a couple of $1,000s, especially to somebody who's like a hardcore BMX collector or loves rad. But the guy like really took his time to track down all the original uh, 80, or it was like the 85 Mongoose Californian parts, because some of them you'll see, if you there are people who sell them like on eBay or online, and they're all like reproduction parts, and there's nothing wrong with that. It still looks the same, but it's not like the original
yeah.
parts like used on the bike. But yeah, probably the bike and then the poster. This poster took me forever to track down. I had the movie poster, like the theatrical release too, but this one just so much cooler because you got all the colors going on. It has the picture of the box.
Yeah.
I
What's
love
that,
the
Paul?
video post pictures of the cassettes on them. I think
Yeah,
that's stand out from the theatrical poster. That's so cool. Yeah.
yeah, and that's actually um, the guy. I mean, this is a cool tidbit here, but like the guy on the bike there, that's R.L. Osborne. He was like a writer, like the top writer for like Redline. And in the beginning of the movie, I know you guys have seen it, like where they're doing all the tricks. This is like the main bike they show with like him on it. So I just thought it was cool how they like have him like blasting through the air. It's just super cool poster. And then I added like some, vintage BMX stickers on the frames. So but yeah, probably that and the bike. I should have brought that damn bike out, but I didn't. I forgot, man. It's in the garage, but it's on my Instagram. Anybody who wants to go look, it's further back on my Instagram page. So
Yeah, you should
um,
repost the picture of it on your Instagram for everyone.
I will. I'll put it on my story and tag you guys. But yeah, this is kind of a quick live tonight. Because I didn't really have a lot of examples, but I think we really got the meat of it down, and I really love the history there, Paul. That I love that stuff too. and obviously the prints. But next week, I think we're going to do, what do you guys say, Vestron next week?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
We can do Vestron.
Yeah, the independent pattern on here.
Yeah, and I have a ton of Vestrons here. I have them, all the OG ones going into like the late 80s. So we'll have a lot of examples. But I really appreciate you guys coming on because I know you're at work all day grading. So it's always cool having you on too. So I appreciate it. And
Definitely.
we'll see you guys next week. We're gonna do Vestron.
All right.
So all right, all right. See you guys.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.